Hi, this is your flip video for solving one-step equations. Our Common Core standard is 7.rp.2. Before we start, let's go ahead and talk about some vocabulary. The vocabulary we need to know today are, the words are opposite operation and isolate. Another way to talk about the opposite operation is like the inverse. Inverse operation. And when we talk about isolating, we're talking about making something alone. So to isolate is to make something alone. Okay, and here I just wanted to show you a picture of something that's isolated. This is a picture of an island that's isolated away from everything else. So that's just an example of to be isolated. Today when we're solving one-step equations, we want x to be out on an island. We want to isolate the variable. I know I keep talking about opposite operations. Let's make sure we know what those two things are. Addition and subtraction are opposites. Multiplication and division are also opposites. So make sure you get those in your notes so that you don't forget what the opposites are or the inverse operations are. Okay, now let's look at the steps for solving this equation. Step 1, what operation is happening? You have to ask yourself, what operation is happening? Step 2, what is the opposite operation? Step 3 is just to do the opposite operation on both sides. So only 3 steps here. Write those down, and then in the next slide is going to be some examples. Okay, here's our first example. X plus 4 equals 13. Remember, step 1, ask yourself what operation is happening. When I look at this problem, I see that addition is happening. Step 2, what is the opposite of that operation? So now we have to think about what is the opposite of addition. The opposite of addition is subtraction. So now I'm going to take away 4 on both sides. That is the opposite operation. This is step 3. Now, when I do this, I am taking away 4 from both sides. I'm going to draw a new bar for myself to show what the equation will now look like. My goal here is to isolate x. So I'm trying to get x completely on its own here. So x plus 4 equals 13. To isolate x, I had to take away 4 on both sides. Now, I need to do the 13 minus 4. Thirteen minus 4 is 9. That's all fine and dandy. Now to the side for myself or underneath, I'm going to make sure that that is actually the right answer. So I just said that x plus 4 equals 13. The answer to this is that x must equal 9. Now let's go ahead and check that underneath. I'm going to rewrite the equation, kind of small. X plus 4 equals 13. This is my check. Okay. Now I plug in that 9. 9 plus 4 equals 13. 9 plus 4 does in fact equal 13. 13 does equal 13, so I got it right. So that's the way I check my answer here. Okay, here's our next problem. It looks a little different because the stuff switched sides. It's all okay. So, our goal still is to isolate x or get x by itself. When I look at what's happening here, I see that the operation, step 1, look at the operation, is minus 7. Step 2 is to decide what the opposite of subtracting 7 is, which would be adding 7. And now I am doing step 3, which is do that opposite operation on both sides. And notice I did do that. Now, Minus 7 and plus 7 cancel each other out to nothing. Now I have 3 plus 7. That equals 10. And all that I have left, like I wanted, is x on the other side. So yes, x is isolated now. Underneath, I'm going to do my check. I'm really trying here. I'm going to try that again. My check. Ooh, that's better. Okay. Rewrite the equation. 3 equals x minus 7. Now, I just said that x equals 10, so let me try that. 10 minus 7. 3 on this side still. 10 minus 7 is 3, so yep, I got it right. X must equal 10. Okay, now here's something that's a little bit different. Vocabulary word, blast from the past. This is called a coefficient that's sitting in front of the x. A coefficient is a number that sits next to a variable, and we know, since it's sitting next to the variable, that it's being multiplied. Step 1, what's the operation? This is multiplication. Step 2, what's the opposite of multiplication? The opposite of multiplication is division. So underneath this, for step 3, I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. These two cancel out because 3 divided by 3 is just 1. I isolated my x, it's by itself. Now I have 9 divided by 3, which is 3. So x equals 3. Let's make sure we can check it and know that we're right. I'm getting really good at writing check. Rewrite the equation. 3x equals 9. Plug in what you think you know. 3 times, yeah, we said x is 3, equals 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 does equal 9. Give yourself a check mark. You got it right. Okay, here's the one that most 7th and 8th graders get intimidated by. We are not going to let that happen. First step is to identify what operation is happening. When you look at this, you should see, okay, I know from complex fractions and all those other things that whenever I see a fraction bar, that's just telling me divide. So step 1, what's the operation? Our answer is the operation is divide. Step 2, you have to identify what the opposite of that operation is. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. So to show that, I'm going to do a little asterisk. Well, let me use a different color. A little asterisk to show multiplication, times 2. And then over on this side, I'll do the same thing, times 2. Now I'm doing step 3. I'm doing that opposite operation on both sides. These two cancel each other off. All I've got left on this side is x. I isolated it just like I wanted to. Now I need to perform the operation 8 times 2, which is 16. All right, you know what's next. Mr. Eyes are trying to write the word check with this fancy stylus, and I did it. We rewrite the equation. X divided by 2 equals 8. Then we plug in what we know, or what we think we know. You told me that x equals 16, so let's plug that into the equation. I'm going to write it over here because I don't think I have enough space underneath. 16 divided by 2 equals 8. Okay, 16 divided by 2, yes, that is 8. 8 does equal 8. Ba-bing! We got it right. Excellent work. Okay, now go practice on the worksheet. Goodbye.